Okay, so welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Jeff Krueger. I'm the sales director here at Versatile Distribution Services. Today, VDS is hosting Facilis Technology. They're going to present new features, talk about the new price guide that was published yesterday, and one of the especially really cool new features that Jim will talk about is the new WANLink remote editorial feature. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce Shane Rodbourn. He's COO and Senior VP, and Jim McKenna, Product Evangelist. So Shane, over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Welcome, everyone. First off, we just want to, from everyone at Facilis Technology, thank you for your business in the past and especially in 2022. It was a very good year for us, and we're really looking forward to future growth, continued growth in 2023. And that only happens with the help of our reseller dealer channel, as well as our distribution partners. So really, thank you again for everything you do for us. We know you're out there on the streets helping us sell, but if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're always available here for you. Purpose of this call is just to talk about some of the new features and especially a new price list that was just released. We typically do one or two every year. So this is the January 2023 price list. I'll briefly summarize some of the changes, and then Jim McKenna will talk in further detail about features such as WANLink, smart access rules, and our new Flashpoint 48S. I do want to mention that we are continuing our popular promotions in 2023. That is our customer loyalty trade-in and competitive trade-up programs. So we are continuing those. So make sure you're talking about the trade-in and trade-up. And also we are continuing our sales rebate incentive program. So the SPIF program that many of you take advantage of. So we're continuing that in 2023. If you have any quotes out there that were out there prior to the new price list and there is a change, they're good for 30 days, and we're certainly very flexible if it goes longer than that. There's not that many changes to the core product line. So if there's something you need help with, please feel free to reach out. Please update your opportunities with Kelly Toronto and register any new deals on the online dealer form. That's always important to get those registrations in. Before we jump into the price list, I just want to mention, as I'm sure you're all well aware, that NEB is coming soon. It's 2.5 months away. Our dealer meeting is scheduled for Saturday, April 15th, 11:30 to 3 at Lowry's Prime Rib. We've had it there in the past. Look forward to seeing many of you there if you can come. We'll talk about what we're showing at NEB and just go over the booth layout and any questions people may have, talk about the new features. And the show starts on Sunday, April 16th, and goes through Wednesday. So hopefully lots of you can attend, and look forward to seeing people in person again. Facilis will be located in North Central Hall in that same booth area that we were previously. It's booth N2138, and we did send out kind of the passcode that you can give to customers, so feel free to register for that for the free exhibits pass. And really, we encourage you to bring by any existing or prospective customers. We really want to talk to customers. That's really the reason to go there, is to meet with the dealers and resellers and to meet with customers. We really want to get in front of people as much as possible. So we'll be doing some incentives to have people come by the booth. We'll talk more about that later. Just as a little teaser, some of the things we may be showing, we will have a new software version with enhanced features and functionality at NAB 2023. We'll be introducing 64 gig fiber channel, very fast performance, multi-user write and single user write. We are going to be introducing higher capacity drives, most likely 22 terabyte drives. So what that does is that gives you 500 terabytes in a 4U form factor chassis and 1 petabyte in a 4U plus an expansion. So that's going to be pretty interesting. We'll get pricing and we'll have that introduced at NAB. And we are going to have a new SMB utility share, which will help people with backup and accessing our system over SMB. So more to come on that in the future. Just a little teaser for NAB 2023. I just want to briefly go over some of the changes of the price list. We're introducing a new exciting product called Facilis Hub Flashpoint 48S. That's a 4U 48 bay SSD solution. It comes in capacities of 48, 96, and 192 terabytes. That's a companion to our existing FlashPoint 24S, which is a 2U. So this comes in a 4U 48 bay. And the performance that we've seen out of it is pretty incredible, and Jim can get into that. Another change to the price list, the basic server connectivity we've included in the past. We're making a few changes to that. We're including 10 gig dual port RJ45 and SFP optical as the baseline. You can select those options at no charge. There's so many other options. We're just going to list those as optional upcharges. That'll be for 50 gig, 100 gig, 40 gig, and then all of the fiber channel options. So you'll see that on the price list that the 10 gig is included. Anything else is an uplift, small uplift charge. A few changes to the total care support bundles that we offer. We actually are offering a lower price point for the smaller system, the 8D32, Facilis Hub 8D 32 terabyte. And then there's some higher price points when you get into the larger capacity servers. In the past, it was less than 5% of the purchase price of the server, so we wanted to bring that up to cover that for the warranty costs. So you'll see the new price tiers there. And if you have something already quoted and it's a budgetary concern for customers, we can certainly work with you on that. So take a look at the total care packages. We've added some different tiers to that. And then on the Hub 8 server, which is our, the lower end product, the entry level product, we did increase the price slightly to the FAC 832. That was $10,990. It's now $11,990. And the FAC 848 is no change, and the 64 terabyte is $18,990. That was $17,990. Now those servers have all been updated. They come with a new motherboard, faster processor, and more RAM. So we are getting much more value out of those entry-level solutions. So we felt like due to the increased cost of goods, we did have to increase that slightly. So our lower end entry-level price point is $11,990 for the 32 terabyte Hub 8. And there were no changes on the higher end, the 96 and 128. So those are really the basic changes to the price list. Everything else has stayed the same. We haven't increased prices. It's been several years since we've done that. We've tried to absorb the prices and work with our suppliers to keep our pricing reasonable and competitive. Certainly come to us if you ever have any budgetary issues where we need to get things into a certain point. And we also do a really good job on expansion and for the future, so people can start out smaller if they have smaller budgets. And then we have the promotions with trade in and trade up, as I mentioned before. So we think we can beat our competitors on value, price, and overall functionality. It really just we need to get in front of them. We need to be able to pitch the product, and then with your help, we can continue to make these sales. That's really all I have for the price list. So without any further delay, I'll turn it over to Jim McKenna, and he'll go over some of the new features.
Thanks, Shane. So yeah, I want to make sure we have a little bit of time here to go over some of the other stuff that Shane mentioned. But the first thing we're going to cover is the WANLink remote access. The really popular part of this is that it doesn't require a VPN, and it really does increase the speed over what a VPN will give you if all things are equal. If you have a slow connection at home, this is going to be slow too. VPN will be even slower. Have a fast connection, we're going to use more of it than a VPN did. And really, it comes down to, of course, that last mile, but we do optimize it quite a bit. Smart access rules I'll go over for just a minute, just to show you sort of what the policy engine does. Flashpoint 48, I won't need to show that. I'll just kind of give you a little information on that, and we'll have some questions at the very end. So the WANLink remote access really starts out with, of course, the shared storage box in the facility, the hub system that is on-prem, that is connected over high-speed connectivity to all the clients in the facility, 10 gig, whatever you want. We're shipping more 50 gig and 25 gig direct connect max these days. They're really, really fast. But then you have an internet router, of course, and that internet router can be set up to forward or pass ports onto the server. And then we have, of course, outside of that, over the internet, we have the home system, which is accessing the internet router over a public IP and a port. That port, of course, is forwarded to the server. There is encryption that happens on both ends of this, and we have authentication as well that we run through to be sure that the workstation is authorized for use on the server. So we have a couple different gating technologies here that will keep things safe, while at the same time keeping the data secure. And we'll go over that right now. I wanted to show you the interface because, you know, if you're familiar with the interface for the console, that's all there is. This is a Mac Mini that I have at home, and I'm just VNCing into it from here in the office. And as you can see here, I have a public IP address on the connection, and that's because I have in my settings here search addresses that are two different ports that are being forwarded to the respective servers that I can see here, and they're connected over secure connections. You can see here, encrypt over internet is the secure mount mode, and I can choose in this version whether I can allow remote management. So the server can actually come in and control my system from the admin console, whether it be over a browser or from the server. And that really is a unique part of this too, is that we can push volumes onto workstations, whether they be local in the facility or whether they be at your home workstation. And so it gives the administrator a lot of control over how they're parsing out those volumes. So as you can see here, it's mounted. I mount volumes the same way I would, you know, any volume on my desktop in the facility. Open it up. I mean, everything is available for me there. You see my solid line volume here, quite a bit of information. And, you know, along with this, along with the volume mounting is the volume presentation to the software that we have, which means that, you know, my Avid workflow is valid. My bin locking, my project directories, or rather the immediate directories, are all correct, like you expect them to be. Any changes that I make in here will forward along to my system back in the facility, and that's going to, you know, be the same as it would be if any other system were doing this, you know, in the facility. And if I go back here to see my my facility system here, it's running the same project with a different timeline. All I have to do is open up that transcoded bin, and there's the timeline I was just on. So that's the same project sharing functionality that you're going to see in facility. You can see on a wide area network with the WANLink client. Now it goes to, of course, Adobe, and it goes to Resolve, and everything that we do in-house is available out of house as well with remote access. And from the point of view of the server, you can see here that the clients are showing up as either authorized or unauthorized. That is the way that we keep unauthorized users from coming into the system over that port. We see any traffic on that port, that system has to be authorized, and that's really the main stopgap measure. The main stopping point into the server is that authorization that we can do here. And of course, the settings here will tell us whether or not that client is authorized for LAN and internet, LAN only, or it can just be unauthorized at any point, so they can't access the server any longer at that point. So those are a couple of new things that we have, and the UI that's built around the WANLink client really is sort of the work that's been done, you know, in the few months coming up to the release of the WANLink last fall. And sort of the encryption and everything that was incorporated in that was difficult, and it was well done, you know, by our engineering staff, and it's been already field tested at many facilities. And this is the kind of thing where, you know, we expect that 2 to 3 times the speed of VPN will be achieved, and that's been proven through several installs now. You know, where we've had people doing speed tests, you know, across their VPN versus their WANLink environment. So there's, you know, when it comes to WANLink, think about the the ability for the client to perform that port forwarding on the router. Think about their ability to have clients with decent connections at home. We do plan to have a caching client that will be later in the year that will be able to cache data locally to the client workstation at home to sort of make real time out of things that wouldn't necessarily be real time over a wide area connection. So that's just a couple things to think about there, and I'll move on from there. So the other things that we were talking about go on to our smart access rules. As important as WANLink Client, something not everybody knows about yet, is our ability to lock down file types, the ability to lock down folders, the ability to lock down all of a volume except for a specific ingest location with a create-only style of permissions. And these access rules are based upon creative people. They're put in place in a very simple way. And you can see here sort of how the access rules apply. So I have this volume here. Let's call it stock video. I'm going to use this one solid line actually. So I have a baseline which gives me read, write, and delete access to the entire volume. These are templates that can be added to any volume. No delete MXF, which is I can't delete any MXF files. That means from an Avid environment, if I go in to delete an MXF file from a bin, for example, it will look like it's done, but it won't actually delete. So we are security boundary when it comes to that. We won't allow the file to be deleted, but we also won't throw an error back at Avid to tell it that it can't delete the file, because that would stop people from working and probably cause some issues in the applications. So application aware access control, application aware smart access rules is really what this is all about. And so even when we go into projects, enabling no delete functionality on projects, an AVB, Avid Bin, a PROJ for Adobe are just two examples of that. Each of those can be saved from their respective applications. I can hit save and save the bin file or save the project file, which ordinarily would break a no delete ACL, since a delete is a part of the access when it comes to that saving. While at the same time, we're going to allow that override to happen, but we're not going to allow you to delete the file specifically from the operating system, from the file system. So we keep that security boundary in place. Just a couple other things here about the smart access rules. Ingest create-only locations, especially in the case where I have a WANLink client, where they want to have a volume mounted to an external workstation, and that external workstation is going to ingest material but doesn't have access to the rest of the volume, and even after the media is ingested, shouldn't have access to do anything with that either. Dark Dropbox type of functionality, and the create-only functionality here gives us a great way to sort of secure the entire file system away from users while still giving them a location to ingest, and then locking down that location that's been used for ingest after a minute or so, which is a cooldown period that allows them to get the files in, rearrange something if they need to, and even after that point, they won't be able to copy it back out or open it back up again. So this is a really unique method of access control that we've developed, and our access control is based upon a global policy. And the global policy is basically everything that we know of that could happen with applications, save files, lock files, and they're put into these temp and taken away from audits, taken away from the rules, so that applications that are constantly making lock files and temp files, we're not going to bother them. And so very application aware when it comes to these smart access rules, which is very important. Flashpoint 48, something very important to know, is 10 gigabytes per second is what that's the benchmark that we're getting. And when I say 10 gigabytes a second, that doesn't equal up to the stream counts that you see here, but it's pretty darn close because this is all flash storage. It's solid state storage, so randomization doesn't come into play. So I can get 250 plus of those ProRes HQ streams. I can get 33 8K red streams on that file system, on that drive set, and it's just been shown to be an incredibly optimized and incredibly efficient way of getting bandwidth out of a small form factor enclosure that's 48 SSD drives, up to 4 terabytes in size for 192 terabytes of overall size. And the kind of thing that we see with that shows you that even at 10 gigabytes per second, we're seeing that these are pretty solid. These little dips are just application that's doing the testing, dips like that, but they're not affecting each other, which means that the system's not even breathing hard at 10 gigabytes per second, and the processor is well under control. So when we do our qualifications, we don't just run a benchmark on the server and tell you how much the server should do. We actually run multiple clients, different connectivity methods, different OSs, and give you that number as a benchmark number. And of course, in the case of SSD, it comes very close to the end result of what you'll get for stream counts. Fast Tracker, of course, is evolving. We're coming out in 3.8 with a couple new features, a client ingest workflow, which gives me the ability to specify a location on the client desktop, index it, ingest it, copy it to the storage, create the primary location on the storage on the asset records, and then make the proxies and thumbnails and transcriptions and everything else. So a one-step ingest and index from a client workstation through the Fast Tracker client, which is the WebTech client front end. We're doing outboard proxy generation, triggering proxy generation using watch folders, a couple different media engines we're going to be using, and it enables us to then attach those proxies back into the records. Adobe metadata import, so metadata that's created within Adobe will be imported into Fast Tracker records. We can create new records for media that we don't have indexed already on an export from Adobe, and then Adobe Captions export, which is basically importing our transcriptions directly into the captions feature of Adobe. Those are all planned for version 3.8. 64 gig fiber channel, as Shane mentioned, is a very cool new way to attach servers together, especially when it comes to our multi-server and server stack environments with hub ones or with multiple servers that are attached to a Flashpoint or a hub one aggregator. 64 gig gives us about 80% better speed than 32 gig in our testing. So we're seeing 4,000 plus megabytes per second in single user, which is the block mode access between servers that we use, and then about 3,500 megabytes per second in multi-user, which is the standard, shared file system method of accessing data through fiber channel. We're also doing a lot with 50 gig, as I mentioned before. 50 gig is about the same speed on a Mac platform specifically that we get with 64 gig. We're doing 3,000 plus 3,500 in some cases, and some cases more speeds through 50 gig direct connect to Mac clients. So that was really quick. We wanted to do this all in half an hour, and I wanted to take a few minutes here and answer some questions if you have any. And I realized that that was really quick, but at the same time on the website, go check out our remote access page, because there is an explainer video there for WANLink, and there's also a video for client install of WANLink. And I put that right on the web page because there's no secret that you have to install software in the client on a remote client workstation to get WANLink to work, and then you have to add in IPs, and you have to get the server, and you have to be authorized, and all these things. Those are all steps that we have to take to make it work. But when, in the grand scheme of things, once that's done, there's really a simple path between the external workstation and the internal server without the use of a VPN, and without the use of remote desktop, RDP systems, which in some cases I've heard from people that they're just not happy with, remoting into systems at work. They'd rather work on their systems at home, and they just want a better way to do that without mortgaging all the projects that they're going to be getting paid on in the next year or so, which some of these solutions will have you do, and of course create a lot of complexity in a hybrid environment where you still have people in facility and at the same time you have people that are outside on remote workstations.
Yeah, so Jim, we got a question that came in. It's what is required at the facility to allow the WAN link to allow access from remote? So I know the answer to the question. It's static IP. It's your client. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, the nice thing about WANLink is that even if you don't have a static IP on the router, you just got to figure out what your new IP is after the router went down for any reason. You can just pass that out to the clients and it's done. There's no DNS propagation that has to happen throughout the world in order to see that. Yeah, static IP, we always say gigabits upload speeds is best because you are pulling off of that server from multiple locations. Had I a little bit more time, I would have gone to the Avid workflow and shown you the proxy timelines I have with various proxy formats and how that works and how I expect that to work on various bit rates of download speeds externally. But gigabit to gigabit on both ends, I mean that's ideal. If you have 300 megabit down, you're doing pretty well. You can get some decent work done that way. But always keep in mind, anytime you're dealing with internet and sort of an unknown wide area network bandwidth, do a proxy, figure out a proxy workflow, or you're going to have to just kind of slog through it with your high res stuff the best you can, because really no system is going to allow for seamless operation of high res over wide area network, unless you're doing some back end synchronizing, which is more complex, costly, and not right for the workflow in some cases.
Yeah, I will say thank you everyone for joining today. I really appreciate your time. I know time's valuable, and looking forward to seeing you all at NAB. And if you can make it to the Facilis meeting on Saturday, I will be there, and looking forward to seeing everybody again. I think NAB this year is going to be much better than it was last year. Well, more attended. So we'll see.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you all.